The Power of Subtraction. Don't learn focus, learn how to subtract. By Michael J. McGee. Read to you by Michael J. McGee. The concept of subtraction. So, I'm really glad you're taking the time to dive into this. Nowadays, it feels like we're constantly being bombarded with things demanding our attention like to-do lists, notifications, social media updates, and it's no wonder why so many of us feel overwhelmed. It seems like everywhere you turn, there's advice on how to focus better, how to be more productive, and how to squeeze every last drop out of your day. But here's something I've learned. True focus doesn't come from trying harder or adding more to your plate. It actually comes from doing less. Yeah, you heard that right. Doing less. Now, that might sound a little strange at first. We're so used to thinking that if we're going to get things done, we need to add more strategies, more tools, more routines. But think about it. How can you truly focus when you're being pulled in 1,000 different directions? It's like trying to have a conversation in a room full of people all talking at once. You might catch a word here and there, but it's impossible to really hear what's being said. This book is all about subtracting the distractions that are pulling you in a million different directions so that you can find that natural, easy focus you've been looking for. I'm not talking about making a few minor tweaks or organizing your day a little better. I'm talking about getting real with yourself, figuring out what's actually important, and clearing out everything else that's just cluttering up your life. And here's the best part. When you start subtracting all the noise, something truly amazing happens. You don't have to force yourself to focus anymore. It just happens naturally. You create space, both mentally and emotionally, to really drive into what matters most to you. You start to feel less stressed, more clear-headed, and even happier. If you've been feeling like your life has been a bit crazy, trying to keep up with everything, but never really getting anywhere, you're in the right place. We're going to go on a journey together, peeling back the layers of distractions that have been holding you back. By the end of this, you'll have more space, mentally and emotionally, to focus on what really matters to you. You'll start to see that less truly is more when it comes to living a focused and intentional life. You ready, spaghetti? Let's dig in. Chapter 1. Understanding distractions. All right, so when we talk about distractions, the first things that probably come to mind are the obvious ones. That never-ending stream of emails, your phone buzzing with notifications, TV playing in the background when you're trying to get something done. These are the kinds of distractions that everyone can see and recognize, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. Distractions go much deeper than just the external stuff. They're not always things you can see or hear. Sometimes the biggest distractions are the ones happening inside your own head. You know those moments when you're trying to focus, but your mind keeps wandering off? Yeah, those. Maybe you start thinking about that conversation you had earlier, or you become suddenly worried about something that's supposed to happen next week. These are internal distractions, your own thoughts pulling you away from the task at hand. And then there are the habits we've built up over time. These can be sneaky distractions because they're so ingrained in our daily routine that we don't even notice them. Maybe you've gotten into the habit of checking your phone every few minutes, even when there's nothing new even to see. Or maybe you always say yes to the things you really don't want to do because you're used to being the person who's always available. These habits can be just as distracting as the phone buzzing on your desk, but because they're so familiar, we often overlook them. So, distractions are more than just the noise and clutter around us. They're also the habits we develop, the mental clutter we carry with us, and the thoughts that keep us from staying present in the moment. The first step to overcoming distractions is recognizing that they come in many forms, both external and internal. Why distractions matter. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so distractions are everywhere. So what? Well, here's why they're such a big deal. Every time you get distracted, your brain has to switch gears. Think of it like driving a car. If you're constantly stopping and starting, you're never really getting anywhere smoothly. It's the exact same with your brain. When you're working on something and you stop to check your phone, even for just a second, your brain has to pause what it's doing, shift its focus, and then try to pick up where it left off. This takes energy, mental energy that could have been used to keep pushing forward on the task at hand. The thing is, our brains aren't built for multitasking the way we have been programmed to think they are. Each time you shift your focus, you lose a little bit of momentum. And it's not just about the time it takes to look at that text message or skim that email. It's about the time it takes to get back into the groove. If you're doing this all day, these little moments of distractions start to add up. And before you know it, half of your day is gone and you haven't made the progress you wanted. But it's not just about getting things done. Distractions can have a heavy impact on your mental health too. When you're constantly bouncing from one thing to another, your mind never gets the chance to settle. You're always in a state of low-level stress because your brain is working overtime to keep up with all the different things demanding your attention. Over time, this can leave you feeling scattered, stressed, and even anxious. You might find it harder to relax or to really enjoy the moments when you're not on. The bottom line, distractions drain your energy, slow down your progress, and can seriously mess with your head. That's why it's so important to start recognizing them for what they are, not just minor annoyances, but real obstacles to living a focused, productive, and peaceful life. The cost of distraction. Look, distractions aren't just about losing a few minutes here and there. They can actually cost you big time in the long run. Imagine you've got some big project at work, something that could really push your career forward. But every time you sit down to work on it, you get pulled away by something else. An email, a phone call, a quick scroll through social media. These little interruptions might not seem like a big deal at the moment, but over time, they add up. Suddenly, the deadline is approaching, and you're going crazy to pull everything together. The quality of your work suffers greatly, and you end up missing out on the chance to really shine at your job. Or think about your personal life. Maybe there's a friend or a family member you've been meaning to spend more time with. But every time you're together, your mind is elsewhere, worrying about work, checking your phone, or just not being fully present. Those moments slip by, and before you know it, you realize you've missed out on building a deeper connection with someone who really matters to you. Distractions can also cause you to lose sight of your long-term goals. This is a biggie. When you're constantly pulled in different directions, it's hard to stay focused on what's really important. You might find yourself drifting, spending time on things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And the worst part, by the time you realize what's happening, it might feel like it's too late to change course. The cost of distraction isn't just about lost time. It's about lost opportunities, missed connections, and unfulfilled potential. It's about looking back and wondering, what if I had just focused a little more? What could I have achieved? But here's the good news. It's never too late to start making changes. By understanding the true cost of distractions, you can start taking steps to minimize them and make the most of the time and energy you have. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional where you direct your attention. And that's where you're cooking with hot grease. Chapter 2. Taking inventory of your life. All right, before we start butchering things out, we need to know what we're dealing with. This is where taking inventory comes in. Think about it like this. If you were trying to clean out your garage, you wouldn't just start throwing things away without first seeing what's in there, right? You'd pull everything out, sort through it all, and then decide what's worth keeping and what's just taking up space. The same principle applies to your life. Taking inventory means laying everything out on the table. Your daily tasks, your relationships, your responsibilities, even your thoughts and habits. It's about becoming brutally honest with yourself about where your time and energy are going. Without this clear picture, you can't make informed decisions about what to subtract. And here's the thing, some of what you uncover might surprise you. There are likely things that you don't even realize are distracting you because they've become such a normal part of your routine. This process isn't about judgment or guilt. It's about awareness. You're simply taking stock of your life so you can understand where your focus is being pulled. And trust me, this part is crucial. You can't subtract distractions if you don't know what they are. Once you've done this inventory, you'll have a much clearer idea of what's truly important and what's just noise. Categorizing distractions. Now that you've laid everything out, it's time to start sorting. We're going to break things down into 3 simple categories: most important, kind of important, and not important. This step is all about prioritization, figuring out what really deserves your time and attention. Most important. These are the big rocks in your life, the things that truly matter. They're the activities and relationships that bring you joy, fulfillment, and progress towards your goals. Think about your health, your family, your closest friendships, and your passions. When you look back on your life, these are the things you'll be glad you spent time on. These are non-negotiables. They need and deserve your focus. Kind of important. These are the things that have value, but maybe don't need as much attention as they're currently getting. They're important, but not crucial. These could be hobbies that you enjoy, but don't want to take over your schedule, or work tasks that need to get done, but don't necessarily need your full attention. These are areas where you can start to streamline, maybe delegate some tasks, or set clear boundaries on how much time you spend on them. Not important. Here's where we get real as hell. These are the things that are just draining your time and energy without giving you much in return. They might be fun or seem necessary, but if they're not helping you move forward, they're distractions. This could be excessive time spent on social media, mindless TV watching, or even certain relationships that are more draining than fulfilling. It's time to be honest. Are these things really contributing to your life, or are they just filling up space? Practice exercise. Alrighty, let's put this into action. I want you to grab a notebook, your phone, or whatever you like to use for notes. Find a quiet spot where you can focus for a little while. Now, I want you to make a list of everything that takes up your time and attention. I mean everything. Hobbies, work tasks, social media, family obligations, even the time you spend worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. Be thorough. Don't leave anything out. Once you've got your list, go through each item and categorize it as most important, kind of important, or not important. Be honest with yourself. This is your life we're talking about, and you deserve to fill it with what really matters. If something doesn't fit into the first 2 categories, it's probably a distraction. And remember, just because something lands in the not important category doesn't mean it's bad or that you need to cut it out completely. It just means it's not where you should be spending most of your time and energy. This exercise is like holding up a mirror to your life. It might feel a little uncomfortable, but it's a crucial step towards gaining clarity and focus. Once you've done this, you'll have a roadmap for what to subtract and what to keep. You'll start to see where you can free up space, not just in your schedule, but in your mind and heart too. And that's where the magic happens. When you clear out the clutter, you make room for what really matters. Chapter 3. Everyday Scenarios of Subtle Distraction. Scenario 1. The social media rabbit hole. Let's dive into something that hits close to home for most of us. This damn social media. It's easy as hell to get sucked in, isn't it? You pick up your phone to check one notification, and suddenly an hour has disappeared. It starts innocently enough. Maybe you just want to see who liked your latest post, or perhaps you were curious about what your friends are up to. But social media is designed to keep you engaged. Before you know it, you're scrolling through endless stream of posts, photos, and videos, each one pulling you deeper into the rabbit hole. The thing is, social media isn't just a time waster, it's an energy drainer. After spending so much time passively consuming other people's lives, you're left feeling a little empty, maybe even a bit inadequate. You've spent all that time looking at what everyone else is doing, but what about your own life? What could you have done with that hour? Maybe you could have made progress on a project, connected with someone you care about, or simply taken a moment to relax and recharge. Instead, social media has pulled you away from living your own life. The tricky part is that social media feels productive sometimes. You might convince yourself that you're staying informed, keeping up with friends, or even getting inspiration. But the truth is, more often than not, it's just a distraction. It's not about cutting out social media entirely, but about recognizing when it's stealing time from what really matters. Next time you find yourself reaching for your phone, pause and ask yourself, is this the best use of my time right now? Scenario 2. The email trap. Now, let's talk about emails. Those little messages that seem so harmless, but can end up taking over your entire day. You know how it goes. You sit down at your desk, ready to start your day, and you decide to quickly check your email. It's just a little peeky peek to see if there's anything urgent, right? But then you see a few messages that need a response, a couple of newsletters that look interesting, and maybe a link to an article that catches your eye. Before you know it, you spent the whole morning in your inbox, and the important work you plan to do is still untouched. Emails are sneaky bastards because they feel productive. You're responding to people, getting things done, staying on top of your communications, but here's the catch. Email is reactive. You're responding to other people's needs and requests, not driving your own priorities. The more time you spend in your inbox, the less time you have for work that truly moves the needle in your life or business. And let's be honest, how many of those emails were really urgent? How much of that time was spent on things that could have waited? The problem with email is that it's always there, always pulling at your attention, and it's easy to get lost in it. To break free from the email trap, try setting specific times during the day to check and respond to emails. Outside of those times, keep your inbox closed. This way, you can focus on what's most important without getting derailed by every new message that pops up. Scenario 3. The overcommitted calendar. Believe it or not, calendars can be another major source of distraction. Have you ever looked at your schedule and felt a wave of dread wash over you? Meetings, appointments, social events, and commitments. Your calendar is packed, and it feels like there's no room to breathe. It's like your time isn't your own anymore, and you're constantly running from one thing to the next. We often overcommit because we don't want to let others down, or we fear missing out on opportunities. Saying yes feels good in the moment. It makes us feel needed, important, and involved. But when you're just saying yes, you're actually saying no to yourself. No to the time you need for deep work, no to the moments of rest, and no to the activities that truly bring you joy. An overcommitted calendar doesn't just steal your time, it steals your energy and focus. When your day is filled with back-to-back commitments, you're constantly switching gears, which makes it hard to get into a flow with anything. Plus, there's the mental toll of knowing you have so much to do and so little time to do it. To regain control, start by reassessing your commitments. Which ones are truly necessary? Which ones are adding value to your life? And which ones are just filling up space? It's okay to say no. In fact, it's essential. By being more selective with your time, you'll find that you have more energy and focus for the things that really matter. Scenario 4. The background noise of relationships. Relationships are a huge part of our lives, but to be honest, sometimes they can be more of a distraction than a source of support. Maybe you've got a friendship that's more draining than fulfilling, or a relationship that's become more about habit than connection. You stick with it because it's easier than making a change, but deep down, you know it's not adding much value to your life. These types of relationships can be like background noise, always there, subtly affecting your mood and energy, but not really contributing anything positive. They take up mental and emotional space, leaving you less capacity for relationships that truly matter. And sometimes it's not just about toxic relationships. Even well-meaning ones can become distractions if they're not aligned with where you want to go in life. It's tough to face, but sometimes subtraction is necessary here too. It doesn't mean cutting people out of your life entirely, but it might mean setting boundaries or reevaluating how much time and energy you're investing in certain relationships. By focusing on the connections that uplift you and help you grow, you're not only reducing distraction, you're enriching your life. Impact of these scenarios. These scenarios might seem like everyday situations because they are, but that's exactly what makes them so powerful in their ability to distract us. It's not the big, obvious distractions that usually trip us up. It's the little, subtle ones that sneak into our daily routines. Each time you get pulled into one of these distractions, you take time and energy away from what's really important to you. But here's the good news. You're in control. By recognizing where your attention is going, you can start to take it back. It's not about feeling guilty or beating yourself up over distractions. It's about being aware of them and making conscious choices to focus on what truly matters. Once you start subtracting these little distractions, you'll be amazed at how much more space you have in your life for the things that really count. Chapter 4. The psychological toll of distraction. The link between distraction and depression. Let's take a moment to really think about how distractions impact our mental health. This isn't something people often connect directly, but the effects are real and profound. When your life is full of distractions, whether it's endless to-do lists, the constant ping of your phone, or the pressure to keep up with everyone, you're left with very little time to just be with your own thoughts, and that's a problem. Think about it like this. If your mind is always occupied with superficial things, you'll never get the chance to go deeper. You're always skimming the surface, moving from one thing to the next, without ever stopping to ask yourself the bigger questions like, am I happy? Or is this what I really want? When we don't make time for these reflections, we miss out on the opportunity to find real meaning in our lives. Over time, this lack of depth can lead to a feeling of emptiness. You might start to feel like nothing you do really matters because you haven't given yourself the space to discover what does matter. This is where depression can creep in, and this was my biggest issue. It's not that distractions cause depression directly, but they create an environment where it's hard to connect with your true self and your true desires. Without that connection, life can feel a bit pointless. Distractions can also numb you to your own emotions. When you're constantly entertained or busy, You don't have to face uncomfortable feelings like loneliness, fear, or sadness. But avoiding these emotions doesn't make them go away. Instead, they build up over time, leading to a general sense of dissatisfaction or even depression. The more you distract yourself, the more disconnected you become from your inner world, and that disconnection can be deeply unsettling. The regret of missed opportunities. Let's talk about regret, a powerful emotion that can weigh heavily on your heart. Regret often comes from realizing you've missed out on something important, and distractions are the major culprit. When your attention is constantly pulled in different directions, it's easy to overlook opportunities that could have made a real difference in your life. Maybe you didn't go for that promotion because you were too caught up in the daily grind. Or perhaps you let a meaningful relationship slip away because you weren't fully present. These are the kinds of opportunities that don't come around often, and when they do, they require your full attention. But if you're distracted, you might not even notice them, or you might not have the energy to act on them. The worst part about missed opportunities is looking back and realizing what could have been. It's that if only feeling. If only I had spent more time on that project. If only I had been more present with that person. If only I had taken that chance. Regret can be a heavy burden because it's tied to things you can't change. Once the moment has passed, it's gone, and all you're left with is the knowledge that you let something important slip by. Distractions can make you reactive rather than proactive. Instead of actively pursuing what you want, you end up just responding to whatever is in front of you. Emails, notifications, other people's demands. This reactive mode of living prevents you from making intentional choices that lead to growth and fulfillment. Over time, these missed opportunities add up and the regret can be overwhelming. The role of attention span. Your attention span is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets weak. But here's the thing. In today's world, we're constantly exercising the wrong muscles. Every time you jump from one task to another, check your phone during a conversation, or flip through channels without really watching anything, you're training your brain to expect constant stimulation. You're strengthening the part of your brain that craves novelty and instant gratification while weakening your ability to focus deeply on one thing. When your attention span is fragmented, it's hard to stick with anything long enough to see it through. You might start a project with enthusiasm, but as soon as something more interesting comes along, your focus shifts. This constant switching makes it difficult to enter what's known as the flow state, that deep, immersive experience where you're so engaged in what you're doing that time seems to fly by. The flow state is where some of your best work happens, and it's also where you find the most satisfaction. But if your attention is always fractured, you never get there. Living with a weak attention span can make life feel shallow, and it molds you into a weak person. You might find yourself constantly busy, but never really achieving anything meaningful. You're always starting new things, but never finishing them. Always skimming the surface, but never diving deep. This kind of shallow living can leave you feeling unfulfilled because you're never fully engaged with anything. On the flip side, when you strengthen your attention span by subtracting distractions, you start to see the world differently. You become more present in your daily life, more in tune with the people around you, and more capable of achieving your goals. You start to enjoy the richness that comes from fully engaging with your work, your relationships, and your own thoughts. And that's when life starts to feel not just busy, but truly fulfilling. In this chapter, we've explored how distractions do more than just waste time. They can impact your mental health, lead to deep regret, and weaken your attention span. But the good news is, by recognizing these effects, you can start to make changes. You can begin to subtract the distractions that are holding you back and create a life that's not just full, but deeply satisfying. Chapter 5. The Art of Subtraction. All right, let's talk about subtraction, but not the kind you learned in school. This is about something far more valuable: your time, your energy, and ultimately, your life. You see, subtraction isn't just about cutting things out willy-nilly. It's about making thoughtful, intentional choices that align with your true desires and goals. Think of it like pruning a tree. You don't just start hacking away. You carefully trim back the branches that are hindering growth, allowing the tree to flourish. The same goes for your life. By clearing away the clutter, whether it's physical stuff, mental noise, or emotional baggage, you make room for the things that truly matter. Subtraction is a life skill that, once mastered, can transform how you live, work, and relate to others. Step 1. Identifying non-essentials. Before you can start cutting things out, you need to get clear on what's actually weighing you down. Remember that inventory you made earlier? Now's the time to revisit it. Ask yourself, what in my life isn't contributing to my happiness or helping me reach my goals? This might be harder than it sounds because some things are sneaky. They seem important, but when you really dig deep, you realize they're just taking up space. Maybe it's a habit you've had for years, like checking your phone the minute you wake up. Or perhaps it's a relationship that's more draining than uplifting. It could even be a mindset that's holding you back, like the need to say yes to everything out of fear of missing out or disappointing others. The key here is honesty. Be brutally honest with yourself. What's not serving you? What's just clutter in your life? Do you really need this in your life in the long run? Once you identify these non-essentials, you can start to let them go. Remember, this isn't about judging yourself. It's about freeing yourself. Every item, habit, or thought you let go of is a step closer to the life you truly want to live. Step 2. Gradual elimination. Now that you've identified what needs to go, it's time to start the process of elimination. But here's the thing. You don't have to do it all at once. In fact, trying to overhaul your entire life in one go can be overwhelming and counterproductive. Instead, start small. Think of this like decluttering your home. You wouldn't start by throwing out everything in your house, right? You begin with the things that are easiest to part with, the stuff you know you damn well don't need but have been holding on to just in case. The same principle applies to your life. Start by eliminating the low-hanging fruit, the distractions that you know aren't serving you but aren't too deeply ingrained. These might be cutting down on social media time, saying no to a few non-essential commitments, or clearing out the pile of papers on your desk. As you build confidence and see the benefits of these small changes, you can move on to the tougher stuff. Maybe that means having a difficult conversation with someone who's been draining your energy, or finally letting go of a long-held belief that's been holding you back. The point is to take it step by step. Each small win builds momentum, making it easier to tackle the bigger challenges as you go. And just like cleaning out your closet, this process can be surprisingly liberating. As you let go of what's not serving you, you'll feel lighter, more focused, and more in control of your life. Step 3. Setting boundaries. Once you've started subtracting distractions, you'll need to keep them from creeping back in, and this is the real test. This is where boundaries come in, and trust me, boundaries are your best friend in this process. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out or being rigid. They're about protecting what's most important to you, including your time, energy, and mental space. Think of boundaries as the guardrails that keep you on track. They help you say no to the things that don't align with your goals and yes to the things that do. For example, if you decided to cut out on social media, set a specific time limit for how long you'll spend on it each day. Or, if you're trying to focus more on your personal projects, create a dedicated workspace where you can work without interruptions. Setting boundaries might also mean having some tough conversations with others. Maybe you need to let a friend know that you won't be available for late night chats because you're prioritizing your sleep and morning routine. Or perhaps it's telling a colleague that you can't take on any more projects right now because you're focused on your current workload. The key to setting effective boundaries is clarity and consistency. Be clear with yourself and others about what you need and why, and then stick to it. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to saying no or setting limits. But over time, you'll find that these boundaries give you the space and freedom to focus on what really matters. Step 4. Cultivating awareness. Awareness is the secret sauce that ties everything together. Once you started subtracting distractions and setting boundaries, it's crucial to stay aware of how things are going. It's easy for distractions to sneak back in if you're not paying attention. That's why I want you to make a habit of checking in with yourself regularly. Think of awareness like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Set aside a few minutes each day, maybe in the morning or before bed, to reflect on how things are going. Ask yourself, are there new distractions creeping in? Am I sticking to the boundaries I've set? How am I feeling? More focused, less stressed? You can also practice awareness in the moment. I will be creating a free 90-day video course on focus soon to assist you in this, so stay tuned. When you notice yourself getting pulled toward a distraction, maybe you're reaching for your phone or getting lost in worry, pause and take a damn breath. Ask yourself, is this serving me right now? If not, gently guide yourself back to what's important. Cultivating awareness isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about catching yourself when you start to slip and make small adjustments to stay on track. And remember, the more you practice, the easier it gets. With time, awareness will become second nature, helping you maintain the focus and clarity you've worked so hard to achieve. Chapter 6. Real-life applications of subtraction. Subtraction in the workplace. Work is a place where distractions are not just common, they're practically built into the damn environment. You've got emails coming in all day, meetings that seem to multiply out of nowhere, and colleagues who drop by your desk just to chat. It's no wonder that by the end of the day, you often feel like you've been busy but haven't actually accomplished anything meaningful. Creating a dedicated space for deep work. One of the best ways to fight back against workplace distractions is by creating a dedicated space for deep work. This doesn't necessarily mean you need a private office, though that would be ideal. It could be as simple as finding a quiet corner of the office, booking a meeting room, or even wearing noise-canceling headphones to signal to others and to yourself that you're in the zone. The idea is to carve out a space where you can focus intensely on important tasks without interruptions. When you're in this space, you're not checking emails, answering the phone, or chatting with coworkers. You're fully engaged with the task at hand. Even if you can only manage this for a few hours a day, those hours can be incredibly productive. Batching tasks to reduce switching costs. Another powerful strategy is task batching. This means grouping similar tasks together so you're not constantly switching gears. For example, you might dedicate the first hour of your day to handling all emails, then close your inbox for the next few hours while you focus on a big project. Later, you can batch phone calls or meetings into a specific block of time. The reason this works so well is that every time you switch tasks, your brain has to adjust, which takes time and energy. By batching similar tasks, you minimize this switching cost and stay in a productive flow longer. Plus, knowing that you have a specific set time aside for smaller tasks can make it easier to avoid the temptation to check emails or social media throughout the day. Delegating non-essential tasks. Delegation is another key part of subtraction in the workplace. You don't need to do everything yourself, especially tasks that don't require your unique skills or expertise. Look at your to-do list and identify tasks that could be handled by someone else. This might include administrative tasks, scheduling, or even routine reporting. Delegating not only frees up your time for more important work, but it also empowers your colleagues or team members by giving them more responsibility. It's a win-win situation. Remember, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Focus on where you can make the biggest impact and let others handle the rest. Subtraction in relationships. Relationships are an essential part of life, but not all of them are healthy or helpful. Sometimes we maintain connections out of habit, guilt, or fear of change, even when those relationships are draining us. It's tough to face, but subtracting toxic or unfulfilling relationships is crucial for protecting your energy and focus. Setting boundaries with negative influences. You don't always have to cut people out of your life completely. Sometimes it's about setting boundaries. Maybe there's someone in your life who constantly brings negativity or drama. Instead of cutting ties altogether, you could limit the time you spend with them or steer conversations away from topics that tend to be draining. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect and self-love. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are valuable and you deserve to spend them with people who uplift and support you. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to setting boundaries, but the peace of mind it brings is well worth it. Prioritizing positive relationships. On the flip side, subtracting distractions in your relationships also means making more room for the people who really matter. Spend more time with those who inspire you, challenge you in positive ways, and support your growth. These are the relationships that deserve your attention and energy. Sometimes it's as simple as being more intentional about who you choose to spend time with. Instead of saying yes to every invitation or obligation, think about who you truly want to connect with. Quality over quantity is key here. Focusing on a few meaningful relationships can bring much more fulfillment than spreading yourself too thin across many. Subtraction in daily habits. Our daily habits can either set us up for success or sabotage our best efforts. The problem is, it's easy to fall into routines that aren't serving us, simply because they've become comfortable or familiar. The good news is, by subtracting just one unhelpful habit at a time, you can create space for new routines that support your goals and well-being. Identifying and replacing unproductive habits. Take a look at your daily routines. Are there any habits that might be holding you back? Maybe it's that extra hour of TV at night that cuts into your sleep, or the habit of checking your phone first thing in the morning, which starts your day off with distraction instead of focus. The first step is to identify one habit that you like to subtract. Start small. Pick something manageable that you know you can change. Then, think about what you can replace it with. For example, instead of watching TV late at night, you could try reading a book or meditating. Instead of reaching for your phone in the morning, you could spend the first few minutes of your day planning your priorities or practicing gratitude. Creating new routines that support focus. Once you've subtracted an unhelpful habit, it's important to fill that space with something positive. This is your opportunity to create a new routine that supports your focus and well-being. Maybe you want to start the day with a short workout or end it with a journaling session to reflect on what went well and what could be improved. Remember that free 90-day video course on focus I mentioned earlier? I will be creating this to assist you in the number one technique I found to give me powerful results that lock in and expand the habit of focus in just 30 minutes a day. I really wish someone taught me this while I was young. I created this routine for myself, and I want to give you this tool because it will serve you as a superpower for even your spiritual growth in life. Now, remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Each small change you make will add up over time, leading to a life that's more aligned with your goals and values. Be patient with yourself and celebrate the positive steps you are taking. Chapter 7. The Benefits of a Subtracted Life. Achieving True Focus. When you start subtracting distractions, something truly transformative happens. You naturally begin to focus better. It's like clearing the fog from a window. Suddenly, everything becomes clearer. But here's the thing. It's not about forcing yourself to focus harder or using sheer willpower to stay on task. Instead, it's about creating an environment where focus can thrive on its own. Imagine you're working on a project and there's no constant pinging from your phone, no emails popping up every few minutes, no nagging thoughts about a million little things you still need to do. What you're left with is just you and the task at hand. Without those distractions, your mind can settle into the work, and before you know it, you're in the zone, completely absorbed and productive. This kind of focus isn't just for work. It spills over into every part of your life. When you subtract distractions, you can fully engage with the people you care about, whether it's having a deep conversation with a friend, enjoying time with your family, or even pursuing a hobby you love. You'll find yourself more present, more attentive, and more connected to the moment. And the best part, it feels easier. You're not battling against a barrage of interruptions, trying to keep your mind from wandering. Focus becomes a natural state, something that just happens because you've created the right conditions for it. It's just like taking off a pair of tight shoes after a long day. You suddenly realize how much easier and more comfortable it is to walk when you're not in pain. Increased productivity. When distractions are out of the picture, you get more done, and you do it faster. Picture your day like a path through a dense jungle. When it's cluttered with distractions, you're constantly hacking away at the vines, trying to make progress but getting slowed down at every turn. But once those obstacles are cleared, the path is wide open. You can move forward with purpose, making real strides towards your goals. Without the constant need to switch gears, going from one task to another, checking messages, getting pulled into meetings, you can actually finish what you start. You'll find that your mind can stay on track for longer periods, allowing you to dive deeper into your work and accomplish tasks more efficiently. It's like going from walking on a treadmill, where you're moving but not really getting anywhere, to running on an open road, where each step brings you closer to your destination. What's more, the quality of your work improves. When you're not trying to juggle 1,000 damn things at once, you can give your full attention to what's in front of you. This means you'll make fewer mistakes, come up with more creative solutions, and feel more satisfied with what you've accomplished by the end of the day. And it's not just about work. Increased productivity means you have more time for the things that matter outside of work too. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion project, or simply relaxing, being more productive gives you the freedom to live a balanced life. Improved mental clarity. One of the most profound benefits of subtracting distractions is the mental clarity that follows. When your mind isn't constantly bombarded by information, tasks, and worries, it has space to breathe. It's like walking into a room that has been freshly cleaned and organized. Everything is in its place, and you can finally think clearly. With this newfound clarity, you'll notice that your decision-making improves. When your mind is clear, you're better able to weigh out your options, consider different perspectives, and choose the best course of action. You're not just reacting to the latest distraction or crisis. You're making thoughtful, deliberate choices that align with your goals. This clarity also reduces stress. Distractions create mental clutter, and mental clutter leads to anxiety. When you're constantly juggling multiple things at once, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But when you subtract the unnecessary, your mind can focus on one thing at a time. You feel calmer, more in control, and less pressured by the demands of everyday life. And then there's creativity. A clear mind is a fertile ground for creative thinking. When you're not drowning in distractions, your brain has the freedom to explore new ideas, make connections, and come up with innovative solutions. You might find yourself having more aha moments where ideas just seem to click into place. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You can finally see what was there all along. Greater life satisfaction. At the heart of subtraction is the pursuit of a more fulfilling life. When you remove the distractions that pull you away from what truly matters, you start living in alignment with your values and goals. This alignment is where true life satisfaction comes from. Ponder this. When you're focused on what really matters, whether it's your work, your health, your relationships, or your personal growth, you feel a deeper sense of purpose. You're not just going through the motions or chasing after things that don't truly fulfill you. Instead, you're investing your time and energy into the things that bring you joy, satisfaction, and a sense of accomplishment. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect or without challenges, but it does mean that the time and energy you spend each day are directed toward things that matter to you. You start to see the fruits of your labor: better health, stronger relationships, more progress towards your goals, and this brings a deep sense of satisfaction. Living a subtracted life is also about authenticity. When you clear away the distractions, you have more space to be yourself. You're not trying to keep up with everyone else or meet unrealistic expectations. Instead, you're living in a way that feels true to who you are, and that's incredibly liberating. At the end of the day, subtraction isn't about having less. It's about making room for more of what you love. It's about living a life that feels rich, meaningful, and true to who you are. And that's a life worth striving for. Chapter 8. Creating a daily routine for subtraction. In this chapter, we're going to dive into the practical side of things. How to build daily habits that help you subtract distractions and maintain focus. It's all about setting yourself up for success each day so that subtraction becomes second nature. Let's break it down into 4 key routines: morning rituals, midday check-ins, evening reflections, and weekly audits. Morning rituals. Starting your day with intention is one of the most powerful things you can do. Mornings set the tone for the rest of the day, so it's crucial to create a routine that grounds you and prepares you to handle whatever comes your way, especially distractions. I think of my morning ritual as my daily anchor. Yours doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. It just needs to be something that centers you and sets you up to face the day with clarity. Here are a few ideas to get you started. Deep breathing or meditation. Before you do anything else, take a few minutes to breathe deeply. Close your eyes, inhale slowly through your nose, and exhale through your mouth. This simple practice calms your mind and helps you focus on the present moment. If you're into meditation, this is a great time for a short session. Just 5 or 10 minutes can make a big difference. See 90-day focus course. Journaling about your goals. Grab a notebook or journal and spend a few minutes writing down your goals for the day. What do you want to achieve? What's most important to you today? This helps you clarify your priorities and reminds you to focus on what really matters. making it easier to subtract the distractions that might try to derail you. Planning your day. Take a look at your schedule and plan out your day. Identify the key tasks you need to focus on and set aside specific times to work on them without interruptions. By planning your day in advance, you're less likely to get sidetracked by distractions because you've already mapped out your priorities. Positive affirmations. If you're someone who benefits from positive affirmations, include them in your morning routine. Remind yourself of your strengths, your goals, and your commitment to living a focused, distraction-free life. These affirmations can boost your confidence and set a positive tone for the day. The goal here is to start your day with a clear mind and a strong sense of purpose. When you begin the day in a grounded, intentional way, you're better equipped to handle whatever comes your way, and you're less likely to let distractions take over. Ponder deeply this quote. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that has ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. You do that every single day, and soon you have a wall. Will Smith. Midday check-ins. No matter how well your day starts, distractions have a way of creeping in as the hours go by. That's why I found it helpful to build in a few moments during the day to check in with myself. These midday check-ins are little resets that help me stay on track and keep my focus sharp. So here's how you incorporate midday check-ins into your routine. Set a reminder. Set a reminder on your phone or computer to pause and check in with yourself. It could be around lunchtime or whenever you typically start to feel your focus slipping. When the reminder goes off, take a deep breath and ask yourself a few key questions. Am I staying focused? Are distractions starting to creep in? Am I working on what's most important? Refocus your priorities. If you notice that you've gotten off track, don't beat yourself up. I had this problem starting out. Just gently guide yourself back to what's important. Remind yourself of the goals you set in the morning and refocus on the tasks that will help you achieve them. This is also a good time to review your schedule and make any adjustments if needed. Take a quick break. Sometimes a short break is exactly what you need to regain focus. Step away from your desk, stretch, or go for a quick walk. Physical movement can help clear your mind and refresh your energy, making it easier to get back to work with renewed focus. Mindful breathing. If you're feeling particularly distracted or stressed, take a minute to practice mindful breathing. Close your eyes, take a few slow, deep breaths, and bring your attention back to the present moment. This simple practice can help calm your mind and make it easier to focus on the task at hand. Midday check-ins don't have to be long or complicated. They're just quick moments to pause, assess, and reset. When I incorporated these check-ins into my day, I found it easier to stay focused and keep distractions at bay. Evening reflection. At the end of the day, I found it important to take some time to reflect on how things went. This evening reflection was my chance to review what worked, what didn't, and where I can improve. It's a gentle way to hold myself accountable and set myself up for a better tomorrow. Here's how you can make evening reflection a part of your daily routine. Review your day. Start by thinking about how your day went. Did you manage to stay focused? Were there any distractions that threw you off course? What tasks did you complete and what still needs attention? This review helps you understand what's working and where you might need to make adjustments. Celebrate your wins. Don't forget to celebrate your successes, no matter how small they may seem. Maybe you finished a big project, or maybe you just resisted the urge to check social media during a work session. Whatever it is, take a moment to acknowledge your wins and give yourself credit for the progress you're making. Learn from challenges. If you struggle with distraction or didn't achieve everything you wanted to, that's okay. Use this time to learn from those challenges. Ask yourself what caused the distractions and how you might handle them differently next time. This isn't about criticizing yourself. It's about learning and growing. Plan for tomorrow. As you wrap up your reflection, start thinking about the next day. What can you do differently tomorrow to stay more focused? What goals do you want to set? By planning for the next day during your evening reflection, you'll go to bed with a clear mind and wake up ready to hit the ground running. Evening reflection is a powerful tool for me to stay mindful and intentional about how I spend my time. This will help you stay aware of your progress and keeps you motivated to continue subtracting distractions from your life. Weekly audits. Once a week, it's a good idea to take a deeper dive into how things are going. These weekly audits are like a tune-up for your life, helping you assess what's working, what needs improvement, and where you might need to make some adjustments. It's your opportunity to step back and look at the big picture. Here's how to conduct a weekly audit. Review your week. Start by reviewing your week as a whole. Look back at your daily reflections and take note of any patterns. Were there certain days where you were more focused? Did distractions creep in on certain days or during specific tasks? This review will help you identify any recurring issues that need to be addressed. Assess new distractions. Are there new distractions that have popped up over the week? Maybe there's a new app that's eating up more time than it should, or perhaps a new project at work is pulling you into too many directions. Identify these new distractions so you can address them before they become bigger problems. Evaluating your boundaries. How well did you stick to your boundaries this week? Did you find yourself saying yes to things that don't align with your goals? If your boundaries slipped, think about why that happened and what you can do to reinforce them moving forward. Strong boundaries are essential for maintaining focus and keeping distractions at bay. Set intentions for the week ahead. As you wrap up your audit, set some intentions for the coming week. What are your main goals? What distractions do you want to subtract? What boundaries do you need to strengthen? By setting clear intentions, you'll go into the new week with a renewed sense of purpose and focus. Weekly audits are a powerful way to stay on top of your subtraction practice. They help you stay aware of what's working and what's not, and they give you the opportunity to make adjustments as needed. By regularly tuning in and making small tweaks, you'll keep moving forward on your path to a more focused and fulfilling life. Again, this is not about perfection. It's about progress. Every small step you take towards subtraction is a step towards a more intentional, purpose-driven life. Build that wall one brick at a time. Chapter 9. Overcoming resistance to subtraction. Common challenges. I want you to understand that I am aware that subtracting distractions isn't always easy. It's a process that often brings up unexpected resistance, both from within yourself and from the world around you. You might be excited to make these changes, but as you start subtracting, you might find yourself facing a few roadblocks, and that's okay. It's totally normal. One of the first things you might notice is a little voice in your head saying, "But what if I miss out?" That's FOMO, fear of missing out. It's a powerful force. We live in a world where everyone seems to be doing something amazing all the time. And it's easy to feel like you're going to miss out on something important if you don't stay plugged in. But the thing is, by constantly trying to stay connected, you're actually missing out on the most important things, your own goals and happiness. Another common challenge is guilt. Maybe you've always been the person who says yes to everything, helping out a friend, taking on extra work, or attending every social event. The idea of saying no might make you feel selfish or worry that you're letting people down. Truth is, saying no to what doesn't serve you is saying yes to what does. It's about prioritizing your own well-being so that you can be your best self, both for you and for others. And then there's worrying about what others will think. If you start setting boundaries, will people think you're being difficult or antisocial? This fear is real. But remember, your true friends and supporters will understand and respect your need to focus on what's important. The people who don't respect that aren't the ones you need to worry about. All of these challenges are normal, but they don't have to stop you. The key is to recognize them, face them head on, and remember why you're doing this in the first place, so you can create a life that's more aligned with who you are and what you want. Dealing with attachment. We all have things we're attached to, even when they're not good for us. Maybe it's that habit of checking your phone every few minutes, or a relationship that's comfortable but not really fulfilling. Letting go of these attachments can be tough because they've become so ingrained in our daily lives. They're like security blankets. We hold on to them because they're familiar, even if they're not actually helping us. The first step in dealing with attachment is to recognize it for what it is. Ask yourself, is this habit, relationship, or activity really adding value to my life? Or am I just holding on to it because it's familiar? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about being honest and kind to yourself as you figure out what's truly serving you and what's not. Once you've recognized an attachment that isn't serving you, the next step is to start loosening your grip. You don't have to let go all at once. In fact, it's often easier to take small steps. If you're attached to checking your phone constantly, like I was, try setting specific times to check it and gradually reduce those times. If it's a relationship, start by creating a bit more distance and see how that feels. It's important to be gentle with yourself during this process. Letting go of attachments can stir up a lot of emotions like fear, sadness, and even a sense of loss. But remember, every time you let go of something that's not serving you, you're making room for something better. You're creating space for the things that truly matter, and that's a gift to yourself. Building resilience. Resilience is the backbone of this whole process. It's what helps you keep going, even when things get tough. And let's face it, there will be tough moments. Maybe you've been doing great at subtracting distractions, but then something happens like a stressful day or a difficult conversation. Now you find yourself slipping back into old habits. Maybe you pick up your phone more than you meant to, or you say yes to something you know you shouldn't have. But that's okay. Slipping up doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're human. The important part is what you do next. Resilience is all about bouncing back after a setback. It's about recognizing when you've gotten off track, forgiving yourself, and then getting back on course. Every time you practice subtraction, you're strengthening your resilience. It's just like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. All these muscle references should make you go work out too. Each time you face a challenge and choose to keep moving forward, you're making it easier to do the same next time. One way to build resilience is by setting realistic expectations for yourself. Understand that this is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, and that's perfectly normal. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and be kind to yourself when things don't go as planned. Another powerful tool for building resilience is having a support system. Surround yourself with people who understand your goals and can encourage you when you're feeling down. Whether it's a close friend, a family member, or even an online community, having someone to lean on can make all the difference. Finally, remember your why. Why did you start this journey of subtraction in the first place? Keep that reason close to your heart and let it motivate you when things get tough. Your why is your anchor, and it will help you stay grounded and focused, even when the waves get rough. So, when you face resistance, whether it's internal doubts or external pressures, you know that you have the strength to overcome it. You're building a life that's more aligned with your true self, and that's something worth fighting for. Always remember, you've got this. Chapter 10. Moving forward with a subtracted life. Please understand that subtraction isn't a one-time thing. It's more like a lifestyle, a way of approaching your day-to-day life with intention. Once you've started subtracting distractions, the key is to keep that momentum going. Think of it like working out or eating healthy. You don't just do it once and expect lasting results. It's something you keep coming back to. At first, it might feel a bit challenging. You'll have moments where it seems like distractions are trying to sneak back in, and to be honest, they probably will. But here's the beauty of it. As you continue practicing subtraction, you'll get better at recognizing those sneaky distractions before they take hold. You'll start to develop a sort of radar for them. What once felt like a major obstacle will become just a small bump in the road. To keep this momentum going, it's important to stay mindful of your choices. Every day, you're going to be faced with decisions, some big and some small, like, should you say yes to that new project? Should you check your phone first thing in the morning? Should you spend time with that person who's always seemed to drain your energy? Each of these choices either supports your focus or detracts from it. That's why it's so important to regularly revisit your goals. Take some time every week or month to sit down and reflect on where you're at. Are you still on track with what's most important to you? Are there new distractions that have crept in? This kind of regular check-in helps you stay aligned with your values and keep moving forward. Continuous improvement. Here's something to remember. Life is constantly changing, and so are you. What worked for you 6 months ago might not be as effective today, and that's perfectly normal. Maybe you've entered a new phase in your life, or perhaps your goals have shifted. That's why continuous improvement is so essential in the art of subtraction. Continuous improvement means being flexible and willing to adapt. It's about recognizing that the process of subtraction is not static. It evolves with you. Maybe you recently started a new job or taking on a new role, and with that comes a whole new set of distractions. Or maybe your priorities have shifted and what once felt important no longer resonates with you. This is where you need to reassess and adjust your subtraction practice. Think of it as tuning an instrument. Every so often, you need to make small adjustments to keep in harmony. The same goes for your life. Regularly ask yourself, is this still working for me? Are there new areas of my life that need some subtraction? By doing this, you ensure that you're always living in alignment with your current goals and values. Remember, subtraction is not about rigidity. It's about creating a life that serves you, whatever stage you're at. Don't be afraid to make changes. If something's not working, tweak it. If a new distraction has popped up, subtract that shit. Continuous improvement is your way of staying on top of your game and making sure that your life reflects who you are and what you care about right now. Living with purpose. At the end of the day, subtraction is really about living with purpose. Living with purpose means being intentional about where you direct your energy. It's about making choices that align with your deepest values and saying no to the things that don't. It's about waking up each day knowing that you're spending your time in a way that feels right to you. It isn't just about productivity, it's about fulfillment. When you live with purpose, you're not just checking items off a to-do list, you're creating a life that feels rich and satisfying. And here's something you aren't seeing yet. When you live with purpose, you also inspire others to do the same. People around you will notice the clarity and focus you bring to your life, and it might just encourage them to start subtracting distractions in their own lives too. It's a ripple effect that allows you to make a positive impact on the world around you. Final thoughts. So there you have it. I hope you take yourself seriously and start subtracting the distractions in your life. Remember, focus isn't something you have to force. It's something that naturally happens when you clear away what doesn't matter. By embracing the power of subtraction, you're giving yourself the gift of focus, clarity, and a life that truly reflects who you are. You're taking control of your time and energy, and you're making sure they're spent on the things that bring you the most joy and fulfillment. I want you to know that I am cheering you on every step of the way. This process might not always be easy, but it is so worth it. Every little step you take towards subtracting distractions brings you closer to the life you've always wanted to live. Cheers to your future, my friend, and thank you for reading. And I wish you all the best.